retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Aguilar is a very special retired US soldier who became extremely famous because he decided to tell the truth and blow the whistle on what's really happening in the mass killing and maiming involving the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. I've been hoping to speak with the Colonel for quite some time, and I'm glad that we are able to do so now. Lieutenant Colonel, thanks for joining us. Just in case you didn't know, you became something of a revered and celebrated figure in the United Kingdom when you spoke the truth. I mean, you didn't do anything more exceptional than that, though that has become the exception rather than the rule. But for those in the worldwide audience who don't really know what it is that you're now famous for, would you kindly recap on what the evidence of your own eyes that you imparted to the US public now a couple of months ago?
Yes, so I worked for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation under a private contract security mechanism in Gaza. And not only did I witness the systematic establishment of a process that was designed to displace and further dehumanize Palestinians, but the targeting of unarmed combatants by the Israeli Defense Forces, the use of lethal force against women and children and unarmed civilians who were seeking food, but also the abhorrent behavior of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation through the UG Solutions contractors that were there supposedly to provide humanitarian assistance and provide aid, who were doing nothing more than providing a trap to displace the civilian population and further put them at danger to be targeted lethally by the IDF. And it became clear to me that the United States complicity in the genocide is a clear and deliberate plan, a plan that ends with the killing of all Palestinians and their eviction from their land, to then be turned into a real estate bonanza, as Minister Smotrich put it. And you heard Milikowski at the UN speak last week that there will be no Palestinian state if he has anything to say about it. That is in clear violation and in contention with what the rest of the world has said is right. Israel is a pariah and the United States is their bedfellow. And we are on the wrong side of history right now, and we need to put an end to this.
It's hard to understand why, though, Lieutenant Colonel, the cost of America's hyper relationship with Netanyahu, with the settler state, it's evident now to all with eyes. As Megyn Kelly said, everybody in America under 30 hates Israel. Allowing for a little bit of hyperbole, she's not far wrong about that. And yet the politicians are the last to move. The US Congress and the White House, whoever's in it, remain the indissoluble twin of the Zionist state. Why?
Well, I think, for example, myself, I do not hate Israel. But I detest Zionism. I love my country, but I think that our leaders are weak and corrupt, and they've been corrupted by money and power promised to them by the Zionist government of Israel that does not represent what I feel is the majority of what Israelis think, and certainly does not represent what Judaism is. Zionism is not Judaism. Christian Zionism is not Christianity. This is a perverse interpretation for those that want to gain power and line their pockets. And as I said in Congress, when I stood up and I protested and I was arrested by my Congress, Having served in uniform for 25 years, I have fought in every war that my country has fought in for the last quarter century, and I have done so with sacrifice and commitment. And now, when I want to speak against genocide and speak against what is abhorrent in this world and not aligned to American values, my Congress arrested me for simply stating that we are complicit in a genocide and to follow your oath. There are lawmakers in America that are compromised by money, blackmail, and power. What I have to say is not an anti-Israeli message. What I have to say is an anti-Zionist message. What I have to say is pro-humanity, not only pro-Palestinian. I am pro-Palestine. I'm also pro-humanity. I'm also pro-America in that our values should be aligned more so to the Palestinians than anything else in this battle. That we should be supporting the right to self-identity and the right to exist. We of all nations should be supporting that. And we're not, because our leaders are compromised. And to me, that's not something that I can stand for. I cannot go quietly into the night and accept that our leaders, with our Constitution, as a United States Army officer, I swore to uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The founding fathers of our nation put that in our oath, recognizing that at times the enemy can come from within. And the enemy is compromised by power and money. And it is disgusting. And it's something that I cannot stand for, nor that I can be quiet about.
Do you think your views are growing inside at least the retired military community? I mean, I'm on very good terms with Daniel Davis, with Douglas McGregor, with Scott Ritter. Now we're all moved by your nobility and eloquence. There seems to be rather a significant number of you beginning to see the light, or am I just wishful thinking on that?
Oh, more and more are seeing it, and I believe that more and more have seen it. As an example, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General George Milley, General Milley, as Mark Milley, I'm sorry, General Mark Milley, as he was transitioning into retirement, he made it known in his concerns that United States military officers do not take an oath to a king or a queen or a petulant or a Congress or a political party. We swear an oath to the Constitution. And when that Constitution is violated, we have an obligation. Anyone that has served in the United States military has an obligation to speak against that. It is in our oath. So I ask any member of the military, and I ask any member that is retired military, what did you take an oath to? Did you take an oath to a president? Did you take an oath to a foreign government? No, you did not. You swore an oath to the Constitution. And if you are not supporting it, you are wrong.
Now, take us back to Gaza, Lieutenant Colonel. The news that was once very plentiful and high profile of what's happening in the famine and at the feeding stations, the extent to which they seem to become kind of Hunger Games, where you run a gauntlet to get a bit of bread at the risk of losing your life, die of starvation if you don't go to the feeding station, die of shell and bullet fire if you do. Is that still going on and just slipped out of the news, or has some intervention been made from somewhere?
Intervention has not necessarily happened. What the sites themselves are still very dangerous for Palestinians that travel to these sites, but there's been a transition in terms of the environment that is actually, it's more concerning now because Israel, hand in hand with the United States, is ever closer to attaining the final solution. This has been the plan from the beginning. I know this to be true because I've seen the plans. I was the operations officer for UG Solutions under the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in the planning and the execution of what was going on. The plan has always been, 1, establish the sites and get them up and running. 2, displace the population from central Gaza. 2, create more of a need for food and aid, to where when even the smallest amounts of food was going in, it made it seem like something was being done. It's a facade. It's part of the plan. Phase 3, once operations start in the north, Operation Gideon's Chariots 2, which is happening right now, clearing northern Gaza from the Netzarim corridor through Gaza City, through Bayit Hanun, through Jabalia to the Erez crossing. That's happening right now. We see that on TV every day. As that's happening, displace the surviving population from the north all the way down to the south to these GHF sites that are now serving as internment camps. There isn't as much in the news in terms of the killings and the shooting, because there's no longer the volume of distribution that's been going on. There's now this internment where Palestinians that reach these sites that survive are biometrically enrolled into a database run by the United States that then gets handed over to Israel. And now that that's happening, the plan is to now reduce the population through disease, famine, starvation, no water. These internment sites that are in the south run by GHF have no running water. They have no process of bringing in food on a consistent basis. There's no medical support. The last operating hospital, Al-Shifa Hospital in the north in Gaza, is already on the verge of falling apart. That's the last hospital that exists in Gaza. So bringing everybody to the south in an environment where disease will take root and kill thousands, where the famine will continue to kill thousands, is part of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's design in implementation with the Israeli government through the Coordinating Office of the Governance of the Territories, COGAT, which controls everything in and out of Gaza. This is all part of the plan. This is not Israel failing in Gaza. This is Israel succeeding in the execution of their final solution. That is where we are right now. Furthermore, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, since I've come out and have revealed what's going on, have made changes to give the perception that they're not these things. Like the entire security contract was under the control of the Infidels Motorcycle Club. When that story came out, they then conveniently fired those individuals, but the damage has already been done. You have an infidel motorcycle club, a group that thinks that that all Muslims should be eradicated from the earth. That's who's responsible for your security inside of Gaza. That is disturbing.
Deeply disturbing, dystopian, and the internment camps of which you speak, many would perhaps hesitantly, but nonetheless inevitably describe as concentration camps. The Palestinians now face a choice of dying in the north and center of Gaza or entering concentration camps in the south.
This is the same process, the same design from which the Nazi Party designed in the implementation of the eradication of the Jewish people and the Holocaust. It's as if Israel took that design and improved upon it to be more lethal and more decrepit and more deceitful. And in doing so, just the number, just look at the statistics, the facts that have come from the Israeli government themselves. This isn't Hamas propaganda. This isn't the Gaza Health Ministry. This isn't the PLO. This isn't some organization that's a pro-Palestinian organization that's trying to spread propaganda. These statistics that I'm going to share come from the IDF, from the Israeli government themselves. 83% of the casualties that have been incurred in Gaza are civilians. That means if you're fighting Hamas, for every 10 people you kill, 8.3 of those individuals are unarmed non-combatants, majority of which are women and children. That is not only criminal, that is immoral. The United States is hand in hand in a part of doing that, giving them the bombs that they drop, being a part of the displacement model by promising food. And you put an individual, you put a human being in a position to where they have to choose. Does my family stay here and die of starvation or potentially get bombed? Because if we stay here, we're now considered to be terrorists, because if you don't leave, then you're part of Hamas and will kill you. Or do I displace my entire family to this concentration camp in the South, where it's also as much guaranteed that I will likely die from disease, from starvation, from wounds, from various environmental factors, because these people are living in tarp tents with no power and no electricity. They will not survive very long. Children certainly will not. And that was really the hardest part for me in being in Gaza as an American soldier and someone that served my country, that felt that what I was doing was right. And my eyes have been opened, and now looking at that, the children, these young children who had nothing to do with October 7th, will not survive this war. The most vulnerable of the population will not survive this war, because this war has long since departed from war, and what it's now become is a genocide. And that is a fact. The world has now accepted that as a fact. So what I ask America, and when I ask the world, is, what are we going to do about it? Because right now we are on the wrong side of history.
Will Tony Blair fix it?
No. You know, I think it's interesting. Nobody asked the Palestinian people what their thoughts on it were. Having Tony Blair be the appointed colonial magistrate of the Palestinian territory is a horrible idea. It is an idea that is rooted in colonialism, the colonial past of both of our nations, that we're taking the worst ideas of the past and rebranding them to do it now. And it is embarrassing that any government, to include the United States government, would propose that as a possible solution.